Alright, it's Christopher Fox once again. This is a request time from Mary, and the name of this video is Darkest Episodes of Kids Shows and Cartoons. Let's check it out. Yay.
Shows nowadays.
And this is the last video I'm uploading, by the way.
To what they can and can't show, which, to be fair, is respectable to an extent. I mean,
Yeah.
You don't want to alienate your main audience or terrify them or anything, but you also want to impart valuable and sometimes
So
harsh
finish up
lessons
dinner,
on
you
them.
guys.
I mean, how else are kids gonna learn about real stuff? And trust me, back in the day, this was the norm. And sometimes I swear these studios just wanted to scare us as kids just for the fun of it. I'm sure you
Pretty
remember
much.
a few of these shows and episodes. Maybe it was a specific scene or character or plot that was just off-putting, creepy, or unsettling, especially for viewing it as a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe the topics discussed were disturbing, or the subject matter was just a little too raw for young audiences. Today, we're going to be taking a look at these kinds of moments in a few shows, and shout out to Tuv and Blame It on Jorge for inspiring me to create this video, as it's very similar to ones they've done in the past, as we're not only going to dive into certain episodes that I can recall as a kid, but also some of the darkest episodes that I could find from other people's childhoods.
And very similar beyond this
today,
list this time.
Let's dive into the darkest episodes of kids shows and cartoons. Flapjack. So this
Yep.
is one I can remember vividly as
Love
a
this
kid
show.
watching in the middle of the night in my brother's room. He's already asleep and I'm just absolutely terrified of what I'm witnessing. Seeing this absolute fever dream.
For kids,
Obviously,
right?
Any episode of the show could appear on this list, to be fair. For those who have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. There's just something so creepy about this art style. And it doesn't help that basically every episode has just some absolutely insane scene. Like, this rivals Courage in terms of the crazy stuff that they could get away with back in the day. There are just so many disturbing and dark moments in this show.
Will never show that to my little brother. Never.
Specific episodes, because they're all crazy in their own way. But since it is part of the video, I'll give two that I can remember the most vividly. And I'm sure those who grew up watching this show remember the infamous cat episode from season 3, Who Let the Cats Out of the Old Bag's House, which is basically a creepypasta lost episode come to life. And I'm definitely not the first to point this out. Also, can't forget to mention the absolute grotesque body horror featured in an episode where Flapjack accidentally spreads the plague from his pet
very
rat,
disturbing.
which is not only a pretty disturbing idea for a kid's show episode, but its execution is what really takes it up a notch in its unsettling factor.
Good news, sir. You have the plague. But why
That shit was Scar kept for life.
Because now I can conduct medical experiments.
Fuck that shit.
There's also the episode where Captain Knuckles has a nightmarish hallucination from a candy addiction. Yes, they did have an episode about addiction, and I could really just go on and on with this show. It's definitely one of the most terrifying ones from my childhood.
It was good though.
Mr. Meaty.
Yeah.
A lot of people at this point have
I actually liked
this
Mr. Meaty.
Nickelodeon
I don't get why
puppet
people
show from
hate it
their
so much.
childhoods, which most remember as being pretty uncanny, but also just
The puppets are creepy, but I've seen shit like Chucky, Megan,
and I can't really remember being as freaked out by it as
Ubi,
the other
that
stuff on this
kids TV
list,
show,
but
so
I
I've
do
seen more
remember just
puppets
thinking
than
that
this.
The show was very weird, so I didn't really watch it all that much. But if you haven't heard of it, it's a sitcom from the mid-2000s about two teens working at a fast food place. And one of the most infamous episodes that I do actually remember is the infamous tapeworm episode, Mooch Master P, in which one of the main characters, Parker, consumes a raw hamburger patty, which gives him a giant tapeworm that starts eating all the food.
That's
And
creepy, but
eventually
like I
they
said,
do
I've
get it
seen
out
worse.
and sell it to some
Even as a
Australian
kid.
guy named Larry who claims to be a zookeeper, but he ends up just eating it, and the whole thing is just really disgusting. There was also another really disturbing short that I saw called Crispy Hand, and with that title, I think you know what's coming. Basically, Parker and
Now
the
that
goth
should
girl
not have been on
put their hands in a
Nickelodeon.
fryer,
That one was
completely
too far.
disfiguring them, and then they proceed to eat them. Yes, that actually happened.
I love it.
That's fucked up. That's way too far.
Dragon Ball Z. Alright,
Dragon Ball
I
Z?
know. Technically not a kid's show.
I didn't
or
even watch
cartoon.
that much
I mean,
as a
it's
kid. I found it
anime,
really-
obviously, but hear me out. We all know we watched this growing up. Let's not cap right now. It was on Toonami, and even Dragon Ball Z Kai aired on Cartoon Network, so there's that. And honestly, Dragon Ball Z isn't really creepy in any way. It's just an awesome show, but there are
I'll try to
couple
watch
of
it.
pretty dark moments, especially in Z.
The only
that I
anime
can
I
pretty vividly
watched as a
remember.
kid was the
First, you
Boondocks,
have
and I
the
should have not have
Scorpion
been watching
Highway
that as a
cutting through this
kid,
whole
but I
section,
did
the
anyway.
death of Goku very early on. And yeah, as a kid who hadn't seen OG Dragon Ball yet, this was quite heartbreaking until you learn about the Dragon Balls and all that. Then there's just some other really dark moments, like Super Buu literally killing everyone on Earth. But the whole Buu arc doesn't really have as much darker tones as something like the Cell Saga, which was pretty serious from the beginning. And definitely the darkest part of the series for me is episode 142, Borrowed Powers, when Cell goes on a rampage in Ginger Town and starts to absorb people, leaving nobody alive. And I don't think there's really any other moment.
Oh
in
yeah, I
Dragon
actually
Ball
do
quite
remember
like
seeing
to be
this
honest.
somewhere.
Some may point to like Goku Black.
He literally
and Chi-Chi
sucks the
in
life out of
Goten,
him to the
or
point
Bulma,
where
which
he's
is
a...
pretty disturbing when you think about it. But that show's tone was just all over the place at times. But this moment with Cell is
Yeah,
just
he literally
chilling.
melts. This was not a kid's show either, and I can see why. Shit like this would... No. Definitely not. Absolutely not for kids.
Invader Zim.
Yes!
So easily one of the most well-known and recognized episodes from the hit cartoon from the early 2000s, Invader Zim.
The
is
movie
one
of
episode
Invader Zim was
Dark
fucking
Harvest.
amazing
Not just
too.
for its contents of the episode, but also for it allegedly inspiring a real-life brutal murder. In the
Oh,
episode
what?
itself,
Say
Dick
what now?
finds out that Zim is stealing the organs of other kids at the school and is replacing them with random objects, and that
Yeah.
alone is pretty dark on its own. But it's more disturbing when you hear the story of Scott Dileski, a man
What?
who killed and mutilated his neighbor, and stated that he got the idea from this episode of Invader Zim.
And you people, why I don't want to show my little brother these horror movies I'm watching? Shit like this.
SpongeBob. Probably didn't expect to see this on here, but there are a couple of episodes that come to mind here in terms of dark subject matter, such as One Course Meal.
But it's
A
SpongeBob.
very controversial and disliked episode.
It's also Sunny
Why?
Rainbows.
Well,
Even the
because
Halloween
in the episode,
specials
Mr.
are...
Krabs uses the sphere of whales against him, using his daughter to try and scare him. And it even gets to the point where Plankton tries to commit assos by getting hit by a bus. But while this episode is kind of done in poor taste, there are great yet dark episodes of SpongeBob. Just look at the earlier seasons. First of all, let's get this straight, subject matter does not equal tone, and does not automatically make something creepy. And the episode Nasty Patty from Season 3 is a perfect example of this. Because if you hear the synopsis or really think about what's happening, it's actually kind of dark, and might even sound disturbing, when in reality it's one of the funniest episodes of the show in my opinion. It's that classic episode where SpongeBob and Mr.
It wasn't as
Krabs
bad as some of the other
they
ones, like the
accidentally
one when
kill
Squidward
the
gets his
health
toenail
inspector
ripped
and
off.
try to bury the body and get away with murder, essentially. Yeah, pretty crazy concept, and I think any other show would just make this weird or possibly even creepy, but these earlier SpongeBob episodes are just so great that they can basically take anything and make it fun.
It's just a cartoon. It's not like it's real life or anything.
Static Shock.
What's Static Shock?
is an animated children's superhero show
I don't remember
that ran
this.
in the early 2000s
Cartoon.
yet again for 52 episodes, revolving around the hero Static, who uses electricity and magnetism powers. And despite airing on the kids block of the
Sounds
WB
pretty cool.
network, and even airing for reruns on Cartoon Network and Disney XD, there were a few episodes with some pretty heavy themes, such as Season 1 Episode 8, Sons of the Fathers, where Virgil, also known as Static, has a sleepover with his friend Richie, whose father is pretty overtly racist. Although by the end of the episode it seems he has changed his ways, but still, what a thing to include in a kids show. But it
Yeah,
doesn't
seriously,
end there.
people.
There's even an episode about a potential school shooter. Yes,
What?
that's right. The 11th episode of Season 2, titled Jimmy, about a boy who is bullied at school, named of course Jimmy, who eventually Virgil ends up trying to help, but when he gets to his house, he finds something quite disturbing. Basically a manifesto, or battle journal as he calls it, detailing his gruesome plans for revenge against his bullies. And Jimmy does actually show up at a community center with the gun, planning to kill the bullies.
Oh my
He's
God.
eventually talked down by Richie, but two other guys
Like I
rush
said
at
before,
him,
the
which
horror
makes him
movies I've
accidentally
seen
shoot
recently
Richie in the leg.
aren't as bad as
Yeah,
this
this
as some of this
episode
shit
was wild.
that back then.
There's absolutely no way they would be able to do anything like this nowadays.
I'm serious about that. Like, what do you think Granny Sarah and Mr. Anime became this type of fucking person? Because of the shit they were watching on TV.
Captain Planet. Captain Planet and the Planeteers was another animated superhero show, this time running in the early to mid 90s with over 100
I don't remember
episodes,
this either.
which mostly
I never really
focused
cared
on
for this show
environmental
anyways.
or political issues. So I'm sure you can see how some of the episodes could get pretty raw, but one really stands above the
Raw.
rest, that being episode 1 of season 2, Mind Pollution, which explores drug addiction, but
Oh
in a
my
much
God.
more realistic way than you might think, with the character Boris being addicted to a street drug called Bliss, which he actually uses to drug Linka in an attempt to steal her ring and buy more drugs. Oh, wow.
Drugs in a
Doesn't
kid's
do
show.
that.
Nice.
Boris actually ODs on screen and dies. That's basically as dark as it can get, really.
Oh my god. I would never show my kid any of this shit.
Boy Meets World. The teen sitcom that aired from the early 90s to the 2000s is a beloved show from many people's childhoods, running for a total of 7 seasons and 158 episodes, with the show focusing on the lives of Corey Matthews and his friends and family, typically focusing on
His first movie was Little Monsters.
Episode.
Great movie,
One of
man.
these
Classic.
that is known for being one of the darkest is Cult Fiction from season 4, where Corey's best friend, Sean, is brainwashed into joining a cult called The Center, which is on its own pretty dark, but it goes even further when Corey's father, Alan, actually threatens to kill the cult leader.
That
Alf.
was a short one.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but it doesn't matter what episode of this show I'm watching, this guy will always creep me out. There's just something so
He's just a
uncanny about his
puppet.
casting, but hey, I might be in the minority here. I definitely didn't grow up with this show, and
I
I didn't really
did.
ever watch it all that much.
It didn't
but
creep
a
me
lot
out
of
too
people
much.
did in the 80s
I was more
and
afraid of
early
Slappy than I
90s,
was of him.
and it focuses on the life of
Slappy
this
scared me more than any other
alien
killer doll in the
given
world,
acronym
even
ALF,
Megan.
standing for Alien Life Form, that lives with the Tanner family. But easily the darkest episode of the show, many fans can agree on, is the final episode, Consider Me Gone.
Even though he's not a
Alf is
doll, he's a
actually
puppet.
captured by
But these
the
puppets
task
just never
force
scared
of
me.
the US government,
Doesn't seem
leaving a
worse
pretty grim
before this.
cliffhanger. Like, are they going to do some experiments on him, kill him? Does he actually escape? I mean, what happens?
Who knows?
Well, this wasn't actually supposed to be some sort of dark cliffhanger ending, but rather it was meant to be continued in a sequel,
Shit,
which
almost
eventually it was in the 1996 film Project Alf. However, this film continuation isn't very well liked by fans.
All those movies.
Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Yeah.
No one
Gotta
shot
mention
this
that.
disappeared,
Gotta
I'm
mention
sure.
it.
If you've seen this show, you know there are some pretty wild episodes. Some really creepy and dark ones for sure. And honestly, we
Yes.
could be here all day with these. But I'll just
One of
give
the
you a
best
few that
shows
left the biggest
in the
impression on
world
me as a kid.
to
Starting
turn
off, we have
somebody
the iconic
to start with
series finale,
horror.
Perfect, which many
This and
people remember
Goosebumps.
for one
It's a good way to
particular
start the being start as a good gateway to horror. This and Goosebumps. Even the haunting hour if your kid can handle it.
Yeah, this guy really creeped us out back in the day. Then you have, of course, Freaky Freddy from
I think I was
season
just a
1,
goddamn
where you meet this
pedophile
guy,
who had a
happens
fetish
to
for
be
hair.
Reel's nephew and the most terrifying barber ever. But I think the darkest and creepiest episode that used to give me nightmares was King Ramses' Curse, also known as the Return
I
of
don't understand why
Slavis.
that one's so scary, but okay. A lot of people are mentioning this same episode. Is there any other episodes that scared you more than this? The one with the giant floating
Yeah,
head
I'm sure
scared me way more
some
bad than this
flashbacks
shit.
Just hearing that phrase. This is the one where Courage finds an ancient Egyptian slab which Eustace refuses to return, resulting in the cursing and haunting from the ghost of King Ramses, which is quite unsettling to say the least. Smart Guy. So Smart Guy is a sitcom series that aired in the 90s.
I never
for
heard of
3
this show.
seasons and over 50 episodes, which focused on the child prodigy T.J. Henderson, who starts to attend high school despite only being in the 4th grade. However, there is one remarkably dark episode that deals with some pretty intense subject matter. That
What
being
is it?
episode 19 of season 2, Strangers on the Net. The episode is about TJ trying to buy a game which he finds for sale for half the usual price from a stranger in a chat room, who he meets in a pizza place or something, before eventually going to his house, which is where it gets really, really dark. because this dude is actually a child predator and is trying to get TJ and his friend to dress down to their underwear and record them.
Oh,
Even showing
Jesus
them
Christ.
off-screen pictures of other kids doing this.
Oh my
However,
God.
They realize this guy is weird and leave. But it
Jeez.
stated later that the man was actually arrested as he had been charged for similar offenses.
Like I said, I would
Yeah,
never show my
wow.
kid
This
any
has
of
got
these
to be one
goddamn
of the
shows on
darkest
this video.
episodes
None of
any
them.
kids show ever made.
Except
But
maybe-
still, it's praised by fans and critics alike as one of the best episodes for being able to impart a grim yet valuable lesson to kids about the dangers of interacting with strangers online and in real life, because you never really know who they could really be. So that's it for now. I'm sure there's way more of these dark and disturbing episodes, so...
There is, like,
let me know
thousands
down
of more
below
that are
Which
worse.
ones do you remember watching as a kid that maybe left a mark on you? Maybe there's a creepy scene, or just a totally strange episode that will never truly leave you.
The Lamelton
Or maybe
episode.
even an episode that taught you a really valuable lesson at a really young age. Whatever the case, leave those and your thoughts on the video down below. And as always, it's been me, Source Brew. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see you all with the next one. Take care. Peace out.
Yeah, the Boondocks episode with Lamelton Deshawn, where Riley becomes friends with this psychotic kid. That freaked me out because it gave me trust issues on people for most of my for months. Even though it's not a show I should have been watching as a kid, but I still loved it. But most of these I've seen, the Captain Planet one and that Cyber Shock one, and that last one, what the fuck, people? Good God, some of these were worse than some of the adult shit I've seen recently. Seriously, what the fuck is wrong with people? Good God, who are you, man? God. But which one of these do you recognize? Let me know in the comments. Some of these just were messed up. Too messed up for kids. Especially the last couple. Like, seriously. Some of these I cannot believe were on a kid's channel. I'm surprised Goosebumps or The Haunting are on here, because those should not be viewed by kids either. But yeah. With that said, y'all, thanks for watching. Take care, and see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, peace out, y'all. Have a good night.